Hello, and welcome to TWP episode 17, the first of the new year, 2024. Hey guys, how y'all doing? I got my good friends Mitch and BK back with me.
We're back. Happy New Year's, guys.
What up?
Yes.
Thanks for having us, bro.
Oh, of course. Zach is still out with a non-disclosed injury. Again, if you want to find out what's going on with him, look it up in the Columbus newspapers. But we have had... Or 4chan, but you might go down a rabbit hole. We have had a lovely holiday break, and it couldn't have been any better for us in Cleveland because the Browns have locked the number 5 seed. They are the top wild card seed. They actually almost found their way into that 1 seed, that top of the North, top of the AFC, but the Ravens did what they had to do to clinch it. The Browns played the Texans and they played the Jets over the holiday break. And very similar games, very similar scoring lines here. They got ahead early. They whooped that ass. And Joe Flacco got on them early, both games. Initial reactions, guys, to these 2 big wins and also clinching our playoff spot.
Well, I will say this. I'm pumped to be talking about this in the context that we are talking about this. We have locked in a seed and we are waiting and riding out this fun gap of time before we actually have to play in the postseason. Not only just winning it under the lights on the main stage in front of all of our fans, kind of skipping over the Houston game, which was an equally fun Christmas little gift that we got from that win. But, sitting here and kind of looking at some of the premonitions that we had, that we chatted with each other and talked over text. Hey, are we going to get the Thursday nighter, at home, the clinch? Is it going to line up with the AFC and all that? So, I'm just absolutely stoked to be sitting here, getting to analyze everything with a little window of time of fun. It's like purity, it's pure fun.
Yes. It's pure fun right now.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. No, totally agreed. I'm typically not a betting man, but these past 2 games, I've been making some fat parlays.
Oh, boy.
Having a ball. I did not hit on either of the parlays. But
you feel good enough to bet.
I feel good. Oh, I hit on the Texans, I hit 9 of 10. On the Jets, I hit 8 of 10 of my crazy stages. But like you said, BK, purity, it's like the pure childlike wonder times 3. I'm just thinking back to the 2020 season, all giddy for Baker, that excitement, and then remembering it snuffed. And I never thought I would have that fire back, but it is back in full swing times 3.
I'll go ahead and say, it's still even different from 2020 because we felt like we were building towards something in 2020. And that was kind of the culmination of it. Whereas right now, we've lost so many players and so many crucial players. There have been so many moments where I was like, damn it, the season is over. Many times this year. And here we are, a team 11-5 right now. We're probably going to be 11-6, 12-5. We'll talk about that later. But we look unstoppable. I am so worried for any team that has to play the Browns in the playoffs because this team looks so dangerous. Let's go in depth a bit about these 2 games though. Both of them we got out hot early. Joe Flacco just was on fire at the start of both of these games, and we were able to just kind of coast in the second half. It was very exciting to start so hot and kind of ride that wave that we initially generated just to the end of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially in the one that produced the most anxiety of the unknown, the Jets have been a very formidable opponent, specifically to the Browns in the last couple of years, where I think we've split a couple of games and, it wasn't a for sure lock with how good their defense was. And that, I think, was the real shocker was that on that Jerome Ford touchdown late in the second quarter, that when Flacco dumped that off and he went and took it in, I think at that point it might have been 27, was it 27-10 at that point?
34.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, so Yeah, that one really blew me away. Houston with Case Keenum, I had a calmness on Christmas, knowing that the defense that we had was going to just translate. It was going to carbon copy into that week. Both offensive performances were very crisp in the games, in both of those games.
On our next two slides, we've got the two brightest stars of these games, other than Joe Flacco, of course. We've got Amari Cooper. Go ahead and spill your guts about Amari. He absolutely went off against the Texans.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, for him to set a career record, solid. But more than anything, for me, that what struck me, and I touched on this before, but the ability for Joe to just take a chance on Amari on a route where it's like, I think most quarterbacks would probably give up at that point. Absolutely insane. Yeah, he's a rock star. I don't even know who to compare him to. But yeah, just hoping he gets healthy soon.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in the Houston game, Amari broke the Browns' single game receiving record of 265 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He opened the first play of the game with like a 70-yard bomb. And he had so many sideline catches. Joe Flacco had so many plays where he was scrambling away from pressure and just said, Amari's out there somewhere. And Amari just toe drag swagged another first down in, another touchdown. He looked unstoppable. After the game, he said, I'm unguardable. And it was kind of awesome because he was that day. And Houston's a good team with a solid defense who we might be playing in the playoffs. We'll still see if that happens.
That's true. Yeah, on Amari and just I think the scheme of the throws offensively, even in some of the years where we had guys who maybe had a bigger arm and the intent was to be more of a passing team than a rushing team, these boundary routes and these long post routes going to the middle of the field, we have not seen that. The conservative offense is a formula that Stefanski runs. So it's to no fault of any of the quarterbacks that we had, even including Baker in those situations. But we're seeing a caliber of offensive attack that mirrors all the big tall quarterbacks, all the guys that can really let it fire down the field. And Amari is, well, he's kind of become not just our burner and our best hands guy and our best route runner. He kind of does it all well, and that allows him to be open, So throwing to him is a comfort piece in that regard. But yeah, the deep bombs and whatnot, that is something that is a catalyst. That's an important piece to this team.
Absolutely. And I think the only bit of that I'll push back on is like, I don't know if we've had the arm talent in the last 2 years, or even with Baker, to throw those deep balls and those boundary balls. Like Baker, Deshaun, Jacoby, you throw any of them in there, and I'm like, they're hitting those throws 1 every 3, 1 every 4. And it feels like Joe's hitting it every other, if not more consistently than that. He's hitting
from
those
the
deep
heavens,
balls
comfortably lobbing it. I mean, they're not. Yeah, that's a good point with Baker. I don't know if he could have thrown some of these bombs we've seen, and I don't know if that's just pure experience and time in the league. But I lend myself more to more his physicality. I mean, he's a big dude. And yeah, obviously he's proven that he can throw the ball that far. But
yeah, well, and I'll say Amari's talked about catching balls from Flacco, and I think Njoku's talked about it a bit. But they've both just been like, he has touch, and that is a knock on other quarterbacks. That is kind of a knock on Deshaun, because Deshaun and Baker, 100%. For example, have you could say big arms. They can throw it hard and fast. They can throw it far. They can do it with timing and precision. But you also have to think about the person who's catching the ball. And Joe clearly, when he throws the ball, is thinking how can I make it as easy for this receiver as possible? I mean, Njoku had one catch, I think, in the Jets game where it was a drag route, and he caught it one-handed. And normally you're like, wow, one-handed catch, that's tough. But it was very clear that Joe was like, I'm going to just drop this right in the basket for you. And you don't need 2 hands. It's a light pass. It's easy on your hands. It's not going to sting. Joe Flacco has great touch for a dude who can whip it 70 yards pretty easily. And that does bring us up to our other star, Njoku. I mean, basically since Flacco has been playing, he's averaging like 100 yards a game. I think Cooper is too. But he has absolutely gone off. This last game, he had 150 yards. He's leading the league for tight ends with yards after the catch. He looks unstoppable with the ball in his hands. It looks like you can't tackle him. And he is fast and strong. And Joe Flacco is just like, he's a veteran of the game. He's one of those big-bodied quarterbacks who's like, I know how to unlock a tight end in soft coverage. Because there was, I think, our first drive against the Jets, it was 3rd and 17. And we're like, okay, we're going to punt it. And he just throws like 6 yards to Njoku. And Njoku runs for 25 through the middle of the Jets defense, who has not given up 300 yards to anybody this whole year, I think, and hasn't given up like more than 2 passing touchdowns all year. Joe Flacco did both of those things in the first half. Okay? That's where we
incredible.
are.
That's
incredible,
insane,
dude.
And that is him unlocking our talent. Njoku is that good. Cooper is that good, but Joe Flacco is showing us how good these people really are.
Yeah. The tight end position is one where when you look back at the teams that have prospered or at least have consistently found the formula, they're a big target. They're usually hands guys. So when you talk about Njoku, he's gained his confidence clearly over last year, good year, and then elevated even more so this year. And you said it, yards after the catch, it's something that when you know that you have guys that are available in as a third read, sometimes on a return route or a long drag where you're kind of running and retracing with him, that's super important for the quarterback to have that as an outlet. And he's not a B+ outlet. He's one of the best in the game doing it.
Yeah, I mean, this offense could not be hitting like a better stride heading into the playoffs. We do have one more game, and we will talk about that, but it's so nice to feel as comfortable as we are with Joe at the helm. And I think that starts a conversation that we need to have about Joe Flacco and how good he's been. Because I think we can all just say without hesitation, he is so much better than we thought he would be coming in. I think the Browns initially assigned him. They signed him under the mindset that this is a warm body that we will put out there if DTR gets hurt. I don't think they really had any intention of playing him initially. And I don't know if they wanted to play him against the Rams, but they kind of had to because of DTR's injury. And he has not hesitated. He has not done anything but light it up his entire time so far. So I think the first question I have to ask is like, can this magic run out? Or, what's the expiration date on Super Joe?
Man. Go ahead, BK.
I think, well, you said it's been better than we could have hoped for. But even more so than that, we're seeing somewhat of a framework for what the playoffs could look like. The guy, even in his carelessness at times, and that careless is used because the turnovers have been there, it's not a recklessness without correction. He's able to correct. So when we look at the playoffs, my word that comes to my head that I keep thinking of is control. I think he's going to be able to control the games. I think he's going to be able to control the offense. And what comes with control is leadership. How do you corral a team when you're down? And how do you say, guys, pick 6 is on me. Let's focus on this drive. That means something. When you have the ability to say that to your guys and they get it, they buy in, the playoffs it's open. And I think that Flacco can take us very, very far away, guys.
Okay, where's very far?
I think that we have the capability of going to the Super Bowl.
Do you think we can win it?
I think that we can win it with him. I think that I can see a 60-foot statue of Flacco outside of our stadium, guys. And
yes.
They don't have to be 60 feet. That guy's tall.
Yeah,
so possible.
Multiplier. Yeah,
it's
Mitch, what do you think? I mean, how far do you think this Browns team can go with Joe?
Oh, I agree 100% with you, Brandon. Absolutely could see us going to the Super Bowl, taking a Super Bowl home. And I think, to your initial question about, how long can this last? You kind of touched on the coaching and like the leadership element of just Joe's approach to the game. Every, post-game press conference, he's so humble about everything. And first thing he does is admits to mistakes. And second thing he does is go, yeah, that really sucked. And the third most important thing he does is go, well, what are you going to do? You got to get back out. It's not like I'm going to, what, you think there's a chance that I'm going to let that bullshit affect what I do next? And you just kind of like see it just in the way he speaks that he's got that strong root of leadership. But I want to take it a step further up to, the top of the pyramid with Kevin Stefanski. One of the things that, I think is cool. I think it was even today, there was another press conference with Joe, but I love watching him use the word we. The like quickness in which he's assimilated to the Cleveland culture, I think is a testament, number one, to Kevin, but two, just the team in general and the culture in Cleveland. But I think the reason I believe Joe Flacco can take us there is not because Joe's proven he's a GOAT. And not that
which he has.
Not that
he has done
on
that.
paper our defense isn't the best in the league, and we can go down a laundry list of other reasons why we might win a Super Bowl. But mostly because there's the biggest reason ever. I mean, it is so fun, and Joe has clearly like totally adopted and been embraced by this town, and I think that's the number one driving factor that's going to take us there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's clearly an emotional leader for this team already. I think he's just older and he's done it. He made a joke today that like if he had screwed up in high school, one of the kids on the team or one of the younger guys on the team could be his son. Like he's got a good sense of humor. And I mean, he's so unbothered. He's thrown, I think, 8 picks in 4 games, which is 2 a game. That's a lot. But he's also thrown like 3 or 4 touchdowns a game. And when your defense is as good as ours is, you can get away with that stuff. I mean, he's so unbothered. When we were kicking the Jets' butt, he was falling asleep on the bench. And that's because he's an old man who's got gray in his beard and has like, 20 kids. He's a Phillip Rivers light, but like he's unbothered. He's like, oh, we're winning. Like if the game starts getting close, I'll do a smelling salt, but otherwise don't bother.
They had to cut the mic up because it was the vast majority was just dad noises.
Dad noises and him being like, I gotta do a science report after this. It sucks. I hate science. He is just like, he's unbothered. But I think the question we now need to ask ourselves is like bigger picture. There's a few things I want to ask, and I'm going to kind of just rifle them off because, and if you guys really want to chew into one of them, go for it. But I'm going to start with this. Is this team better with Joe Flacco or Deshaun Watson at the helm?
I'll let you go first.
Right now. Go. Just answer.
Joe
Flacco.
Okay.
Clear answer for me. Yeah.
If we make it as far as the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, and Joe Flacco says, I want to play again next year, do you try and make it work with him?
Yeah.
I will say this.
Yeah.
Anything less than the Super Bowl, I think that we have to see Deshaun through in Cleveland, given the context of how he played this year and given what the future looks like. But I don't think that it's out of the cards for the magical run to extend to the Super Bowl with this guy. Mm-hmm. And if he has conviction to want to be here in Cleveland and he represents it the way he has been, I think that's a conversation that's on the table.
Okay, 100%. So following up with that, if a team like Atlanta, who was seen to be the leader in the Deshaun sweepstakes race a few years ago before we snuck in and offered more money, if we tell them, hey, we'll trade you Deshaun, we want some picks back, and we'll pay some of his salary, so you're not paying all of that guaranteed money, and we keep Flacco and we get some picks back, do you do it? Because I'm at the point where, like, honestly, all the bad karma of getting someone like Deshaun, like, Cleveland has faced so much unnecessary hardship. We'll say just as sports in the world of sports, we don't need to talk about anything else, but just in the world of sports, just so much bad luck. Like the Browns moving to Baltimore was just like such an unnecessary gut punch. The Browns in the league were the third most viewed team, third best attended. Like, we were one of the most popular teams in the league when we left Cleveland to Baltimore. Like, why did we deserve that? We didn't, is the answer. We didn't deserve that. And there's many other bad and unlucky things that have happened to us. And throwing a Deshaun Watson in the mix really just, like, gives you an unnecessary target on your back. Like, and it makes Clevelanders look bad for defending him. And if we can clean our hands, maybe get a Joe Flacco statue in the meantime, and just, like, move on, I would do it. I would.
Hey,
BK, I'm with you. I'm totally with you that, like, if we don't go, I'll say the AFC Championship game. If we don't go to the AFC Championship game, thank you, Joe. Mwah. The most we could have ever asked of anybody in his role, and so much more. Absolutely beautiful. But if we make it that far and he's got fire and he wants to go again, I'm ready to give up on Deshaun if we can find a trade partner. It's all under the guys that we can find some.
You got to find someone to pedal him off onto.
There's no universe where we keep Joe Flacco and Deshaun Watson.
I mean, plenty of people want him, but
and we have to remember
that is the hardest part, right? Is finding a buyer.
We have to remember with Deshaun Watson this year, he went 5-1 as a starter. Now, is that because of his play? No, it's because of pretty much everybody else's play. But our team is really good. Our team is really freaking good, and you know, who knows? We might have a better record if we had Deshaun start every game this year. We might be 13-3 right now. Who knows? It's all guesses at this point. But it's an interesting thing to consider. And gosh, I would love to face these questions if we have the success that we think we could. Now, the only thing that people seem to assume is a major concern for Joe is his turnovers. But I'm going to go ahead and say, when you have our defense, I'm not worried about his turnovers. Our defense is the best defense in the league. It's not a conversation. Other people could throw their hats in the ring. You know, there's a lot of talent on other teams. San Francisco has a lot of good stars. Kansas City has a lot of good stats. But we have everything across the board. Statistically.
100%. I was going to say, that's my favorite thing to do. Every Monday, you know, after the end of the week, is just go and confirm my suspicions that on paper, the Browns are the number one defense. So still to date, as of right now, the Browns defense has the fewest yards allowed of any defense, fewest passing yards allowed. We've allowed the fewest first downs, and we've allowed the fewest third downs in the 2023 season.
Oh, so just the most important statistical categories?
So just we're the best defense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, especially,
and by margins that are substantial. I mean, I'm not going to say statistically significant, but it's a clear shot when it comes to the stats.
Well, and you look at something like the third down conversion. I think of some old teams, some old demons, even as recently as when we've kind of turned the corner the last couple of years. We've been a sieve in the worst moments. Third down stops, I'll say at the stadium. I don't know what the playoff scenario is going to lay out, but a team that would have to come through us. I know it's the situation this year is wild card for us, but it's hard to come through our town with the defense that we have. That's kind of the Flacco is the feel good. The defense is the bones and the meat behind the whole story.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I mean, yeah, and then that's why I say, like, I'm not as worried about his turnovers, because our defense, especially for the last 2 years with Jacoby at the helm and at different points with PJ Walker or DTR, like, our defense is playing mistake-free football or we lose. Like, they've had to play in a way where it's like, if we don't hold this team to their lowest scoring output, we are going to lose. And now they're like, oh, I guess we could give up 20. Like, I guess we can manage to let somebody have a good play, like a good play. But, I mean, leading the charge, you have a guy like Myles Garrett, who currently is the leader for Defensive Player of the Year odds. I really hope he gets it. He has busted his butt here in Cleveland for, I think this is his 6th year. He's been great the whole time. Here are some photos of him dunking because he is a superb athlete. If he wanted to, he could probably also play in the NBA because he a dog. But we're probably not going to see much of Myles Garrett this week. This week we play the Bengals, Week 18, Browns-Bengals. I imagine most, if not all of our starters are going to be sitting. Anybody who, has a sore tummy or fell asleep on their arm for too long and it's got the pins and needles. Yeah, anybody who farted and it was too close to being something else, like all of those people are sitting this week. And they should, because honestly, we don't need this win. I will say the only reason I really want to win this game, beyond it just being a division rival, is that the Bengals are 0-5 in the division right now, and I would love to round that out to a nice 0-6 on the year against the division for them. But it's if we're not playing anybody of importance, it's not super likely that we'll win this game. I think there's a few things to consider. Are there any young players that you hope to see step up and maybe have a breakout kind of game en route to the playoffs? There's also the talk of signing a veteran because we have opened up a roster spot and not filled it yet. There's some rumors around Dalvin Cook, who could come in and be another running back to add. There's a big hefty boy, Ioannidis, a defensive tackle who could provide some nice depth for us. Or I think there's the most obvious selection of Jarvis Landry, former Brown. He gave the great speech on Hard Knocks about contagious, him basically saying being a bitch is contagious. Yeah. So don't be a bitch, play through injuries. And if you don't, that's contagious. And it was pretty awesome.
It's badass season.
And we could use some wide receiver depth. I think this game is an opportunity for somebody like Cedric Tillman or David Bell to step up and show that they could be a bit more reliable. But, if not, we could sign one of these veterans and have them play in this game to kind of get their legs under them, give them an opportunity to have a preseason game before the playoffs. Do you guys have any strong opinions about signing a veteran or a young player that you'd like to see step up this week?
I think you highlighted it best. I think the big star goes to the guy in the middle there. I don't know if any of us have a negative feel about what his contribution was, Jarvis, that is, to the team, kind of getting back on track. But I will say that the game is a rest game, but there will be players. There will be some formulation of a team out there, and just a shout out to some of the young guns, Ronnie Hickman and DeAnthony Bell. When you talk about the next man up mentality, I don't know how much playing time or what emphasis coach is going to have on them, but they're gonna. Their playing time is only going to contribute to them getting more experience. And you highlighted, Tom, some of the offensive guys also in the younger category between rookie Tillman and David Bell on that side of the ball. So I concur with those two, but there's another highlighted piece of our running back set that is going to be probably his showcase game. What do you guys think about Pierre Strong?
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, I think we're all thinking, why not give Pierre 30 carries? Let's give him 25 carries and watch him get 150 yards. He'll look like Dearness Johnson a few years ago when Case started. He's going to just go in, pop off. Yeah, Pierre Strong is a really good young back who's got a lot of burst, and why not get him a little bit hot before the playoffs? yeah, if we don't make any moves, 100%. That's the guy I'm looking at the most, other than Tillman. Tillman and Joe Flacco have already had a few moments where Joe Flacco threw it to where he expected Tillman to be, and he wasn't there, and you could tell Joe. I mean, he did chew him out, but you could tell, like, he was also like, I'm chewing you out because there's going to be a moment when I'm counting on you, and I need you to be there, Cedric. Okay? I mean, we'll see what happens.
Growing pains. But no, I'm with you. I think that's my number one, anticipation for the Bengals is going to be Tillman just getting some reps, getting at least attempted throws to him. Ideally, Jeff can get him the ball a little bit.
We haven't even mentioned Jeff Driscoll, who's
yes, but
and also
sorry.
Just a quick note on Jeff.
Yeah.
He will be the 5th starting quarterback for this team this year.
Starter.
Wow. And I don't think there's ever been a team in history who made the playoffs that had 5 different quarterbacks start in a season. So just another feather in the cap of this incredibly historic run the Browns are going on in 2023. Before 100%. We switch off the Browns, I want to say, let's just imagine the playoffs a little bit. Let's just let's go into the realm of the playoffs. We're going to play the AFC South winner in the first game, and I honestly think we're going to be favored, even though we're going to be playing away. Like, I think we're better than that team, whoever it is. All 3 of those teams, we're better than them that are in the running. Now, after that, it starts getting a little shaky because 5, 6, and 7 are all looking really good right now. They're all pretty hot teams, and 2, 3, and 4 have all wavered at points. So the likelihood of the Browns having a home playoff game in either the divisional round or even, dare I say it, the AFC Championship, is seemingly more and more possible. There's a few things I'd love to see happen, but one of them is I want to see us beat Baltimore in Baltimore. Oh. I mean, it's no team has a better story to dethrone Baltimore as the number 1 seed right now. Like, we have their old quarterback.
With
Cleveland
Joe?
left. Yeah, Cleveland left Cleveland to go to Baltimore. Joe? With Joe, that's our old team. That's the remnants of our old team. Like, they're our division rival. There's just every reason to win that game in the most storybook fashion and then go and have an AFC championship in Cleveland. Like, if we ride that high, which it's possible, it's very possible, how do we not, coast into the Super Bowl with all of the juju, all of the, we got Tinkerbell's fucking fairy dust on us at that point. Like, we are playing light. We are playing fast. We are playing sexy. Okay? This team, BK, go ahead. I'll shut up.
This is just, I will just say this. I have chills because if there is anything from the Jets game that made me feel the pride and the history of Cleveland, it was knowing that this is familiar to some people. The fans of old have had the games come through there. And the current playoff scenario, as you said, Tom, has a lot of strong wild card teams that are going to be visiting some ailing and otherwise questionable division winners. If there's ever a chance, though, like you said, there's a hierarchy of enemies, and I think we can all say in some form of agreement, it's the Steelers and the Ravens, and however you want to put 1 and 2. 100%. To go take care of business on the road in a game where we will be the underdog, but the story has everything to it. That would be the one to circle. And that still wouldn't discount us having a chance to be at home, Believeland, under our lights again. You know, we thought that the moment was the Jets game. And for me, being able to be there, it was that very much so. That is the crowning moment. I think you could say that anything to happen in the postseason is an additive. It's the cherry on top. It will only give us more enjoyment in the story. But there's a chance that we could have a couple of cards fall our way, and we'll be playing at home. That's just amazing to think about, guys.
BK, I could not agree with you more. Like, getting to the playoffs, winning in the way we did with the players we have, like nothing could be sweeter. And everything else is a cherry on top. Unless we win a fucking Super Bowl.
Let's fucking go, dude.
Like, what if we fucking won a Super Bowl? Anyway, that's enough about the Browns.
Ravens first. Yes.
Go Browns. Yeah, one team at a time. We'll take on the Jags, Colts, or Texans, whichever one stumbles to the championship of their division. Okay, let's move on to the Cavs. So,
yes.
Not been as great for the Cavs of late. Cavs 3 steps forward, 3 steps back. Over the last 6 games, they are 3-3. And you know, I hate to be a Donovan hater, but Donovan didn't play in 4 of those games, and in 4 of those games we were 3-1. But in the 2 games he played, we were 0-2. Granted, we played better teams in the 2 losses with Donovan. We played Milwaukee, who's obviously very good, and we played Toronto, who had just added those pieces from their big trade. So you know they had some high morale. I was really, after we at one point were 18-13, I was really starting to feel like, okay, we're separating ourselves a little bit. We're proving that we're top 6, at least not one of these play-in teams. And then we lost the last 2, and I'm just so back and forth on this unit. But let's try and stay positive with this team because that's all we can really do right now. They play tonight. They play the Wizards, and the Wizards have single-digit wins. They're like 6-27 or something horrible, and we should wipe the floor with them, and that would definitely help. 19-15 looks a lot better than 18-15. But we had talked about players that we had hoped to see step up, and 2 of the guys on the screen are people that we had hoped to step up: Sam Merrill and Karis LeVert. Sam Merrill has already gotten his career high twice in the last 6 games. One of the games he finished with 27 points. He is shooting with confidence. He had a 3-pointer last game where he was touching the Raptors logo. And it wasn't like he needed to shoot that shot. He was just like, I'm feeling myself. And I'm okay with him feeling himself officially. I'm officially ready to say that Sam Merrill is one of the better shooters in the NBA in terms of spot-up 3-point shooting. He is an ace. And the other guy is obviously Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert has had multiple 30-point games over this 6-game stretch. In Dallas, he personally led the team. He had a 31-point game, and then Jared Allen had a 20-20 game, which are just like crazy, gaudy stats, unbelievable. And they led a comeback against a Luka Mavs. Like, Luka played. And just a quick side note on Luka, he spent so much time complaining to the refs in the last minute while we mounted like a 17-point comeback in the 4th quarter. It was awesome. Yeah, I just have such mixed feelings about this team. And like after that big win against Dallas, Donovan's on the court. He's throwing water on Karis and Jarrett, you know, and they're all kumbaya. And then he gets back on the court, and I swear, maybe this is just an eye test thing, but everybody looks like they're hesitating just a bit more. Everybody is thinking in their minds, oh, I had 10 shots a game for the last 6 games or 5 games or whatever. Now I have 6 shots a game. So each shot costs a little more, and I hope I don't upset Donovan. Like, there's just a weird energy about this.
There's a weird economy with like Donovan's approval on the court. And it's clear.
And to be honest, like, Donovan is saying all the right things, and he's being cool with his teammates. He seems to get along with everybody. But I think it is undeniable that when he's on the court, he's not a part of the team, or he's not leading the team. Like, he's somewhere in between where, like, people are kind of like, well, are you going to take over or not? Or are you one of us or not? Like, nobody knows. It's such a weird mystery with this team. And I'm just focusing on Donovan because the big OG Anunoby trade from Toronto to New York has kind of like sent the NBA media circuit into a spiral. All they're talking about now is this the prereq to Donovan Mitchell going to the Knicks? Is this Donovan's time? Is it time for him to get traded? No one in Cleveland's talking about it. No one in the Cleveland staff is even hinting at it. Donovan is not saying anything like, I want to be traded. Like, There is nothing about it in Cleveland, but the national media won't shut up about it. So I think, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. And we have our guys out. Like, I still feel like we don't have a good option right now other than to just like sit back and hope we win a few more games. Like,
let it ride.
Yeah.
Amen, man. The one thing that's changed, I think, since last pod was I was kind of, I think, in my head holding on to a little bit more the idea that, you know, let's give him a shot. I was very resistant, I suppose, to the idea of, well, let's look at the offers first. Let's look at what somebody might offer for this guy. But more and more so, at this point, I think it'd be crazy to not really, really take, you know, number one priority, play the field, put out the feelers. I could see Orlando or Brooklyn finding a place for Donovan, and I think they probably have some stuff that they could give us. But yeah, like you say, as a fan, buckle down, do what we do best, and let's finish out the season, you know?
I agree. The thought is, did the initial trade that the New York Knicks made, did that start a cascade where you'll start to see other teams kind of go for their buy-in moment? Because when you do look at the separation, at least in the East, is my eyes always go to who are the clear teams that are ahead of us. And honestly, it's the same rotation of four teams, I guess you could, I'm using four, including the Miami Heat. But you look at these guys, and we're in the same bunch as New York and the Pacers and Orlando now, as they've come back down to earth. So you're going to start to see some people get a little bit antsy, and we saw the first trade go off. So the question is it going to start it? Is it going to start the talks?
Yeah. Yeah, and
100%.
I mean, yeah, if there's a fire being lit under the Knicks right now, sometimes that makes other people jump earlier than they would, you know? And I mean, I could really see either of the New York teams, Orlando, Miami, really make a push for him. Even New Orleans, if they want to get rid of Zion, like I could see them coming out of nowhere and trying to make a crazy trade. But you know, who knows? Let's get a win tonight. Let's go 1-0 and like just keep moving from there. Because as I've been saying the whole time, my feelings about Donovan really haven't changed. It's just a little off. But at the same time, I love this young core. I love seeing these younger players step up, and Craig Porter Jr. has been awesome. Sam Merrill has been awesome. I mean, everybody that we've elevated to give a shot has taken that opportunity and ran with it. And it has been very inspiring to see that, like, we are creating some sort of culture. I just wish that I felt like Donovan was a part of it.
Well said.
Let's move on to let's get some jokes in here. Let's get some jokes in here at the end.
Wow.
So Ohio State played Missouri in a bowl game. I don't even remember which one it was. So what was the name of it? Cotton Bowl. Fucking okay. No more jokes. Ohio State played Missouri in this bowl game, and they lost 14-3. The only thing that we were looking forward to seeing is Devin Brown potentially having, you know, a good game and asserting himself as at least the leader in the quarterback room for Ohio State. But he played about a quarter, didn't look great, got hurt. Some true freshman comes in, Lincoln Keenholz, and he looked
I call him Lincoln Log.
He looked like a goober smoocher who was just giving rec football a try. Now, I mean, he was just completely unprepared, and our offense looked terrible, and so did theirs. Their offense was bad too. Their running back's decent. He'll probably play in the league, but like
it looked like a chess game between two people that haven't played chess before. I don't know.
I mean, both defenses were playing tough, and both offenses were wildly inept. But not a ton to say about that, honestly. Couldn't care less, and I feel like most Ohio State fans feel that way. We weren't in the playoff, we don't care. But it leads me to talk about, like, this bowl season in particular has been wildly disappointing. I feel like there's only been like one or two games that were even close and worth watching. Georgia absolutely waxed Florida State. It wasn't a game, and even the Georgia coach comes out after the game and says, "We need to fix this. This shouldn't have happened." And he said that after beating a team, and he was trying to be respectful. But what a disrespectful thing to say! Don't he basically said
this is not even fun, and it's not that it's necessarily just about fun, but he's like, this is not fun.
He's like, we don't enjoy destroying what's left of a team.
It's awful.
This bowl season has just been terrible, but like the silver lining is that it'll be fixed next year with a 12-team playoff, and it'll be hopefully a much more exciting conclusion to the season.
That's
for sure.
Yeah, that's ultimately, I think, the goal, and I think you alluded to it before when we started this. The identity of it is at the bottom of its spiral, and before any major change happens, you kind of see this dip, this lull, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be the sports world, and it's at the bottom. I mean, there, like you said, there wasn't a game that was really that enticing. Even though some of the matchups had some ranked opponents against each other, you just didn't have it. You didn't have it in the Buckeye game, and thank goodness you had it in the actual playoff between 1 and 4 and 2 and 3, because those were solid games. But the identity of what do the other teams do? That used to be something to fight for when you're in the Cotton Bowl and when you're in the Orange Bowl, and unfortunately, it was at its lowest this year.
Yeah, it was pretty boring, and I'll say unwatchable because I didn't watch it, and I know a ton of people who just didn't watch this year. Who you're having holiday time, you're with family, and you're like, oh God, I'm sick of talking to Aunt Jean about her spot on her leg, so I'm going to throw on the game and I'm just going to watch. I'm going to watch Auburn play somebody, and hey, it turns out it's a good game, but we just didn't have that this year.
Yes, I would rather watch Christmas Story again.
I think I would like to talk about Michigan a little bit. They beat Alabama, and I think everybody kind of was hoping that Alabama would beat the hell out of them because Michigan's a bunch of cheaters. They got caught cheating. They were found guilty of cheating for at least the last 2 to 3 full seasons, cheating. And yes, it's sign stealing. Everybody does it. Yeah, well, it's cheating and you got caught. Everybody does terrible things, but when you get caught doing them, you get in trouble.
Not everybody does that, Michigan.
Yeah.
Not everybody does that.
Well, J.J. McCarthy, their starting quarterback, was asked about it in a post-game presser for them going to the national championship, and he was like, Ohio State was stealing our signs before. Like, you're going to the national championship, and you're still talking about Ohio State. Like, you're a loser. Good. I hate you. No, but I wanted to talk about some things, in particular with Ryan Day. So Ryan Day is on the hot seat right now because people say he doesn't show up in big games. His record right now is like 56-8 or something like that, and almost all of those losses are the loss that knocked them out of the playoffs or the loss in a bowl game. But his winning percentage is like the highest of any start to a coaching career in college football ever. It's like it rivals anybody's first. I think he's been the coach for 5 years or 6 years. It's rivaled anybody's first 5 years at any program, literally ever. And I just want to highlight that stuff because I'm going to talk about John Harbaugh now. Or not John Harbaugh. I'm going to talk about Jim Harbaugh now. Jim Harbaugh's first few years with Michigan, he had a winning percentage of .690, so just under 70%. He was like 49-22. And then they start stealing signs. And that starts at the beginning of 2021. His winning percentage over that period from 2021 until now jumps to .925, so just under 93%. So maybe maybe it does matter. Maybe it does actually matter a little bit when you cheat. Maybe it does. Maybe
above 90%.
When you were under 70 and now you make this leap out of nowhere to 93%. Jim, you're a cheater. You always have been. You always will be. And that's why you fit right in with the Wolverine scabs. But I just want to say it's also going to be very interesting to see what the NCAA does about this, because they are rumored to be vacating some, if not all of their wins throughout this period, which I don't know when that official period is. They said 2021 to 2023, but when that officially starts and ends is a little bit unclear at this moment. But if that happens, Ryan Day, if they vacate all of Michigan's wins in that time, Ryan Day will be 41-0 against the Big Ten. He will be officially undefeated against the Big Ten his entire time here. And people want him fired.
Wild. That's wild.
The only 3 losses are against cheaters. And Michigan can downplay it all they want. Rich Eisen, who is an alumni. I love Rich Eisen, but he's very obviously an alumni when he has all these different people come on the show and say, hey, sign stealing's not a big deal. Rich, it's not a big deal. You just do it. I'm sorry. I'm just not that kind of person. If we got caught cheating, I would say we're disqualified. I don't think the Patriots should have been able to continue to play when they got caught in Deflategate. I don't think the Astros should have been given that World Series trophy after they got caught stealing and cheating.
Well, and Tom, show any jury of any group of people, no matter how much they know about football, present the case, and then give them that stat, and then see how every single jury rules. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh
is. Go ahead, BK. It is the lowest form. It's spineless, gutless, soulless. When you cheat, you deserve to have the hammer fall down heavy on you. And there shouldn't be much remorse, but for some reason, Houston's got their their World Series, and God, that is truly a bad one. You mentioned the other times. There should be some penalty for this. They should pay for this.
Yeah, I'm an Ohio State fan. I am biased. I don't think they should be in the national championship game. They got caught cheating. What?
That's fair, right? That would be fair. What does the word fair mean?
What do they have to do? I think it's ridiculous. The only thing that I'm excited about with this national championship game, other than the prospect of Michigan losing to a guy by the name of Michael Penis. No, his name is Michael Penix. But Washington and Michigan are both Big Ten teams next year. So, hey, let's pat ourselves on the back, Big Ten.
Hey, there we go.
We got 2 teams in the championship, and that feels good. But it just feels so wrong that they're going on this run, and it feels like the media is behind them, and I am not crazy about it. This is not a team that I think we need to be like, wow, they're the victim in this situation because they got caught. Don't you feel bad for the players who are also guilty of cheating? I mean, they're seniors. This is going to ruin their senior trip.
They're seniors.
This is going to ruin they'll never go back to college. I just don't piss up a rope. I don't care. You got caught cheating.
Shouldn't have cheated. Yeah.
This is a big deal.
Shouldn't have cheated.
You're going to take that away from them? Yes, that actually is the consequence for cheating. You get things taken away from you. Yeah. Okay.
Well, and whether or not, I don't know, how spiritual you guys are, whether or not you believe in karma, but as a Cleveland fan, I have a strong belief in karma and, the notion of potential curses going out. All I'm saying, as a franchise, Michigan, you put that kind of energy out in the world, and to your point, Tom, you get pet on the back, you get a nice lollipop, you get an ice cream cone for fucking up like that. That will come back to bite you at some point. I don't know if it's going to be next year. I don't know if it's going to be 5 years, but it will at some point.
I hope so, and I hope they don't get a national championship before that happens. Well, guys, this has been another lovely episode of the Witnesses Podcast. Mitch, BK, thank you for tagging in again. I appreciate the work you guys have done to be ready for this. Like, share, subscribe. You guys do the same. Tell all your friends about it back in Ohio.
Ohio boys.
Let's enjoy this Browns game, even though it's just a preseason game. It's the 4th preseason game before the playoffs because they're not going to play anybody who matters. And man, I'd love to see one of these kind of no-namers step up and shine.
I couldn't agree more. I will say this to you guys, not only great chatting with you, but celebrating this in spirit with everyone, defeating the Jets, going to the playoffs. This Cleveland team is ready for something. They've already given it to us. So I'll just say cheers to them for giving us one heck of a good season this year.
Hey,
cheers.
Cheers to that.
Cheers
to that.
Cheers to Cleveland. Well done, Cleveland. You always blow us away, baby.